one of the most important groups we've ever had in the Peoria Riverfront Museum. On behalf of our board of directors, one of whom is in the room, Dr. Sarah Zalek, the brilliant neurologist, and one of you, and all of us at the Peoria Riverfront Museum, the only museum like it in the United States. Art, science, history, and achievement. It's a special place. I want to say one thing to what you are doing to make a difference in our community, and that is thank you. You are creating the culture of philanthropy, and our future depends on a community that gives to each other and celebrates the impact we can make when we can make it. So 3 cheers for each of you and what you give and what you do. Welcome to the museum. Enjoy lunch, and thanks to Kathy Williams, who is one of the great human beings I've known. And she and I used to work together at the place called Lakeview Museum. Don't tell anybody. We're not that old to remember that. But anyway, God bless you all, and thanks for all you're doing.
So welcome to our first, hopefully annual, luncheon. It's never been done before. We thought we'd give it a try, and we had a great turnout, all because of you. So thank you. If you don't know me, I'm Kathy Williams. I'm the events chair. And we always say we're a working board, and it totally showed today. We're board members jumped right in at the drop of a hat to help. So thank you to everyone who put it all together. You guys did a great job. After you get to eat and chat and everything, there is a member survey on your tables. If you could just pass them around, work on it, and then at the end of the day, someone will come down around and pick them all up. So we appreciate you giving us your honest feedback. And with that, I'm going to have Carrie Redshaw tell you a little bit about membership. So thank you. Enjoy your day.
Well, good afternoon, women of impact and invited guests. On behalf of Shelley Weaver and the membership team, I'm really excited to share with you the things that have been going on in membership this year. It's very sad that Shelley can't be with us, and I know there's nobody that would rather be here than Shelley. So in honor of her, she's here in spirit. And so just pretend that it's her giving a wonderful speech and not me. Our transformation impact for our community is growing. To date, we have funded 7 projects to the tune of $595,000. I think that's phenomenal. Our impact is only going to get bigger. This year we had a goal of 275 members. We surpassed that, and we are inching our way. No, we are centimetering our way towards 300. And so we hope that we will be able to make that. This year, Impact Central Illinois launched a corporate employee sponsorship program. You probably saw some of the signs when you checked in. We are very grateful for SEFCU as an impact sponsor and Fortress Bank as a contributing sponsor. And also we are very, very thankful for the employee match programs that exist at Caterpillar, Maui Gym, and other businesses in the community. These are very important. To date, we have about 45 memberships that have been sponsored through their generosity. So that's just an awesome, awesome thing. And you know, there's some of us moms that help sponsor our daughters and friends. So we'd like to give a round of applause to all of our members that helped sponsor other members. We started a new membership this year for young women between the ages of 14 and 22, and it's our junior membership. They have the same exact privileges as a full old adult member, And so they can serve on the grant review committee, vote at our annual meetings. Their membership fee is only $500. Yes, we do have our first junior member, Lainey Sika. Lainey, can you just wave? And here's another exciting thing. We just got another junior member today. So we're up to 4. So for our first time running this program, we're very excited. So if you know daughters, granddaughters, nieces, friends, please invite them to a gathering, and we're going to put some gatherings together just for junior members and let them get a taste of what Impact is all about. We had 7 home gatherings this year, and in our home gatherings, 75% of the women that attended actually ended up joining. That's pretty phenomenal. So thank you to all the women who opened their home to our guests so that we could share our story with others. We have one more for this year, and it's on Monday, November 14th from 7 to 8:15 p.m. It's in Washington at Kim Earl's house. And if you would like to attend, if you're a guest and maybe you'd like to attend, I have a sign-up sheet, or you can take a picture of the address and everything. But our home gatherings are extremely important to us. So some of you came in as guests, and I am sure you're wondering, wow, this seems pretty cool. Maybe by the end of our luncheon, you would say, I really want to become a part of this. So when you came in, you were handed a membership card, and you could go ahead and fill that out. And then just give it to me at the membership desk afterwards. So you can sign up now, but then you still have to pay. So here's the deal. Put your forks down and put your listening ears on. So for a guest, for a member, it's $1,100 a year. $1,000 of that goes towards our grants. $100 goes towards just paying for all the other expenses that we have to run our organization. If you would like to be a member, we have to have your check in hand by November 16th. So November 16th is a very, very important date. And if you are a member and you haven't paid yet, then we would also appreciate your check by November 16th. Now, we realize that that is very short notice. So very begrudgingly, we are going to allow checks to come till November 30th, but no later. Absolutely not a day later. If we get a check that's past November 30th, then you are considered a member, but you don't get to do the fun things like sit on a grant review committee or vote for our grant winners at the annual meeting. So first date, November 16th, drop dead date, November 30th. You know, when someone joins Impact, the membership team celebrates. And I mean, we blow up our phones. And so I just want to say that each and every one of you sitting here has been celebrated as you have joined, whether it was this year or last year or the year before. Membership is really, really important to us. So I just know that as we near our 300, there's going to be a lot of celebrating going on, and I hope for you guests that are here that we can include you in that celebration. Our membership recruitment cycle will close on November 30th, and the grant cycle will begin. So please join me in welcoming Kristen Zika, who is the grant review chair. Oh, I saw her, yes. And Vivian Standiford, who is the finance review chair. Thank you very much. So my name's Kristen Zika. I serve as the grants chair on the Impact Central Illinois board.
And I'm Vivian Standiford. I also serve on the Impact Central Illinois board, and I'm the treasurer and the finance chair.
So we are here to share with you just a little bit about our grant process, because we are beginning to shift from a member recruiting time period to a grant review time period. And so to begin, a lot of times you will hear people talk about GRCs and FRCs. And we often forget that not everyone knows yet what those acronyms mean. So a GRC stands for a Grant Review Committee. And any member, any one of you, any member not here, any member interested in being a part of the grant review process
is welcome to join that committee. You do not need prior experience. You need to have a heart to learn and a heart to give to our community. That is the only requirement, and that is our GRC. And if interested, we give an opportunity to those who would like to take a deeper dive into an organization's financial review, and they can elect to also serve on an FRC. So an FRC stands for the Financial Review Committee. And an FRC member actually exists within each GRC. So she can serve as that financial expertise in that grant review committee. So the GRCs and FRCs essentially execute our grant review process. This is a 5-phase selection process that occurs from January through May of each year, culminating in our annual meeting in June. So this selection process narrows down a wide group of applicants to determine the best finalists for each GRC, okay, for each grant review committee and each focus area. The finalists compete for, and the winners actually receive our grant awards at our annual meeting in June. So nonprofits have a choice to apply in one of 4 different GRCs that are defined this year. These GRCs are health and community well-being, education and community development, social services and basic needs, and the Inspire GRC, which is reserved solely for the smaller nonprofits that serve our community. Our grants leadership team this year is led by a pretty incredible team of women. And this is one of the things that I absolutely love the most about Impact Central Illinois is getting to work with these women. We want to thank them for sharing their time and talent with us. So we're going to talk today because at your table in front of each plate, you will see a QR code. And that QR code will take you to the sign-up sheet to be on a GRC and to express your interest in serving as a FRC member, okay? The time commitment for being involved is that you are asked to attend 1 training session in January, 3 evening meetings. 1 will occur in February, 1 in April, and 1 in May. And then you have an optional opportunity to actually visit up to 3 nonprofit site visits in late April, early May. Additionally, you are asked to read the grants beforehand, and that takes about 1 to 2 hours of time. Our FRC members do attend an additional financial training session, and then they participate in all of the GRC meetings with their committee. All of these dates are visible on the calendar in our new portal. So if you want to actually have those dates come into your calendar, they should be visible there. So as I mentioned, the QR code is right in front of you. You can take that sheet of paper with you, or you can start signing up today. And please note that if you did express interest in serving on a GRC on a membership card, this is not the official committee sign up. We need you to sign up online because we'll ask you to rank your preferences as well as submit any conflicts of interest that you might have with nonprofits. If you work or are involved with a nonprofit, that does not prevent you from sitting on a GRC or an FRC. We will just make sure to assign you to a committee where you do not have a conflict of interest, okay? So also, Vivian and I will also be in back afterwards to answer any questions you might have.
So I'm going to take a moment to explain a little bit more about what FRC does. And as Kristen had mentioned, FRC is part of GRC, so every FRC member is a GRC member. We want to make that very clear. And it is an integral part of GRC. And we are considered the financial expert because by the time you join the GRC to look through all the grant proposal, you would have seen the financial statements and the tax return of these organizations. And there is just one very simple goal, and our task is to make sure that all these nonprofits have very good financial management to manage money if they were to become a grant recipient. Your money that's given to us, we take it very serious, and we want to make sure every grantee has good financial stewardship. And so that's what we do. So FRC is actually the first step in many ways of the grant process. So, so you don't have to be a financial person or an accountant to join the group. The reason is we actually do have a really nice Excel template. We actually do have training, as Christian has mentioned. So we will share with you general things to look for. You drop these numbers from the tax return and all the financial statements. It gives you a good ratios, and there is going to be more explanation on how you would judge and rank these organizations. This year, I'm very excited. Last year, I served as the finance chair and the FRC chair. But this year, Deanna Bailey and I are going to team up, and we are actually going to streamline the process even more. So if you join us, there's going to be a lot of support. And it is going to allow you to see the organization at a one layer deeper instead of just about the program itself. It's about the organization and how they run it and their financial management. So I truly do encourage you all. If it sounds interesting, again, you don't have to be a number person, a financial advisor, or you know. If you've never seen the financial statement, that is totally okay. But if you want to learn more, it's a great way to get to know the organization at a deeper level. So we hope you can join us. Now, why join, right? Why join the FRC or the GRC? We think it provides such a unique opportunity. And I'll speak for myself. I moved here, many of you know, only 2 years ago. But I know so many non-for-profits who are so impressed that I do because I know them through this organization. So if you want to learn more about what's going on in your community and all these amazing non-for-profit, this is a great way to get to know them, to know their program, to go on site visit, to become a committee member, to go through this process of granting.
Please join us. You have a seat at the table. We welcome you at the table. And you are also needed at the table. You bring a unique perspective that only you can bring. So please consider taking that QR code home or scanning it today and signing up for a GRC and an FRC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm Kathy Kwan, the marketing chair. So you've heard from a few of our ladies today that our portal has finally launched. So very excited about that and excited to share it with all of you. Our new website has also launched. So you should have received a welcome email. Those went out on Thursday, and that welcome email contained your username, which is your email address, and then a unique password. If you did not receive your welcome email, or if you have any questions about how to use the portal, I will be sitting in the back at the end of the meeting today, so feel free to come up with me and chat about the portal. I also just encourage everyone to get into the portal and familiarize yourself with how to use it. It is going to be how we're doing all of our communications going forward. Our grant review committees will be using the portal for their review. Our events registration and sign up will all be through the portal. So it is really important that you do log in and kind of get familiar with it. There's also plenty of tutorials that you can find. If you're kind of in there and you're kind of stuck, can't figure out how to do something, there's a really good help center for you. But of course, I'm always available for questions as well. Let's see. Oh, and I just wanted to reiterate what Carrie Redshaw said about payment. So payment is due on November 30th, but we're really asking that you get that payment in by November 15th, because if it is not in hand, you will not be able to vote in the June awards cycle. So it's really important that you get that payment in. The 3 options for payment. So if you did bring a check today, we'd be happy to receive that check from you. You can also mail a check to Wendy Ramsey, or you can also pay through the portal. So to do that, you'll just log in. Under the members tab, there's a button that says billing, and right in there, it'll say pay your dues. So it's pretty straightforward. Once you click pay your dues, it'll take you to PayPal, and you can put in your credit card info or just log into your PayPal account there. So there is a processing fee that applies for that. It's a PayPal processing fee, so unfortunately it's unavoidable, but it's just super easy to get in there if you want to do it that way. So the last thing, I'd like to welcome Sister Rachel up to give us a blessing.
So I'll ask you to bow your head for a minute, and we're just going to thank the Lord for the food that we are enjoying at the moment. Good and gracious God, giver of all good gifts, we come together today with thankful hearts for the untold blessings you bestow on us every moment of our lives. We are grateful for the beauty of the earth that surrounds us, for the gift of all peoples who grace it, for our country that gives us opportunities to do your work in caring for each other, for what has been, for what will be. We thank you now for these generous women who fill this room, women whose hearts are expanded to serve those in need. We count on your wisdom to see what you know to be our work. We thank you for the leadership of this group, whose vision births opportunities for so many in need. Continue to hold us in your heart, that we may be an instrument of blessing to others. Bless this food we are sharing, bountiful gifts of your creation, which will nourish us in our journey toward you. May we continue to enjoy the fruits of the earth. Amen.
I'm Lori Weaver. I'm president and co-founder of Impact Central Illinois. This is my faithful sidekick, so I love that she's here with me. This is my sister-in-law, Shelley, who is out of town today. It's my honor and privilege today to get to introduce to you our speaker. I'm connected with Julie Locke Moore in a couple different ways, but today I'm going to tell you a little bit about how she began her story with Impact Central Illinois. On January 9th of 2019, I looked it up, she reached out to me in a Facebook message. She had seen a video where I was communicating what we were trying to accomplish with Impact, and she said to me in that message, I want to be part of the 100 women that you're looking for. Of course, I was thrilled, and I wanted her, but I also thought maybe you should come to this gathering that we had planned at my home in February and learn a little bit more. So she came. I remember she arrived early, and Shelley and I were there waiting for guests, and Julie proceeded to tell us how she had been the recipient. She'd been part of a not-for-profit that had been a recipient of a high-dollar monetary gift like we were trying to give. And she was aware of the amazing difference that it had made. I asked her if she would consider sharing that experience with the guests that were coming that night, of which Paula was one. I remember her saying with confidence that Shelley and I didn't quite yet have, but she said with confidence, this is going to make a difference. And many in that room went on then and became founding members. They wanted to be part of that kind of difference in our community. We will always appreciate the special part that Julie played in growing our membership at just that perfect time. Julie is the co-founder of the Dax Foundation. She's the co-chair of the capital campaign at Peoria's Ronald McDonald House. She lives in Washington with her husband Devin, her 12-year-old daughter Madeline, and their foster son Noah. Please join me in welcoming our friend and founding Impact member, Julie Locke Moore.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me, and I'm just so inspired by hearing the stories of where we are today. I remember when I was in your living room, I think I was number 33, and just looking at this room is just incredible to see the power that a group of women can have. So thank you for asking me to speak, and I'm excited to share my story with you guys today. You're going to have to excuse me. I actually had a hard time writing this one, and normally I'm pretty good at this without losing it, but it was a little bit difficult in relation to our connection with this grant. So on the day of my son Dax's first birthday, I never imagined it would be my last memory of an afternoon outside the walls of a hospital with my family and friends, just playing at a splash pad in the warm sun. I can still remember him with his little swim trunks and laughing at my father-in-law for showing up in his swim trunks to play with Dax. I say that because laughter was something that was really something I missed. And I realized that all of a sudden that was taken from me. In the first year of his life, we battled many normal viruses that never seemed to get better. The flu felt like a wrecking ball that came, and just a common ear infection was like fighting a horrible battle. I still remember that morning of his birthday party. That morning, I could hardly wake him up. This was a 1-year-old that slept all night long. I had a pit in my stomach, and I knew something bigger was going on. But for this party, I was going to celebrate him turning 1. I mean, I couldn't miss my firstborn son's first birthday. That night, that horrible night, he was admitted. 1 month later, and 4 hospitals later, we were rushed by a private plane to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. My innocent 1-year-old son, Dax, had terminal cancer, and he was in so much pain. When the words were spoken that Dax had cancer, my mind went into fight mode, like any other mom in this room would. Thoughts of blame and anger and doubt just flooded my mind, and I didn't have any room for anything outside the walls of that hospital room. As you can imagine, skipping around to 4 hospitals in a month was draining, physically and mentally. Hospital after hospital of sleeping on whatever chair or cot I could find. The word homesick could not even describe how ready I was to lay flat on a bed and sleep without any trace of a hospital sound. I was told about Ronald McDonald House next door by a social worker when I arrived. The word free housing rolled off her tongue, and that shut down that idea quickly in my mind. After some gentle encouragement, I decided to check it out for dinner time. My mom was with me, and at that time I told her I would go grab us dinner and come right back. I drug myself into that public dining area and promptly asked the joyful volunteer for to-go containers. They encouraged me to stay for bingo after dinner. I just swallowed the lump in my throat and moved along. Before I left the hospital room, my mom had told me to stay there and eat the meal hot and just sit down and take a minute to myself. So I'm a person that draws in. I didn't want to talk to anybody else. I could not hear about anything else outside of my fight. And so I found the end of a long table and sat down and tried to get away from people. Unfortunately, at the Ronald McDonald House, the seating areas weren't a lot. They were all like family style like this. You weren't set up to be off on your own. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I was off. And all of a sudden I looked up, of course, to a woman standing there in front of me. With her strong Southern accent, she asked if she could sit with me. Tears welled up in my eyes as I reluctantly told her yes. This exact situation that just happened with this woman changed my life forever and is why I'm standing here today. It's why I was in Lori's living room. This woman began to share with me about her daughter Elizabeth, who had the same disease as Dax. They were both about the same age, and they had arrived just 3 months before me. She also shared with me that she had 2 little boys at home named Charlie and Andrew. I was missing my family so much back at home, and the thought of actually leaving my children behind, that information that she shared just broke me to my core. But Michelle's pain made me see blessing. All of a sudden, I was able to see her situation and mine. Before that, I was stuck. I was stuck in my own pain, in my own situation, and that anger and that rage and the hurt was so big. And in that moment, it was less. There is so much power, I believe, in community. It brings blessing by the services, like the Ronald McDonald House was such a blessing to have. But it also brings healing in a way that is critical to the health of the people around us. This moment is when my healing journey began. See, I told you the Ronald McDonald House was designed so that you don't ever sit alone, but also you don't have kitchens in your apartments. And the reason that they do that is for people like me who don't ever want to come out of our shells. I don't want to grieve. I didn't want to grieve with people who were grieving. I didn't want to socialize. But it forced me to. The camaraderie was what I would picture it's like for troops who are in the battlefield, who are locking arms together. I just learned this on Sunday, and it was just really powerful and really helped me just I think I want everybody to hold out their thumb, and if you've heard this, I think it's just good to do it again. You stick out your thumb, and I like to think of when Dax was diagnosed with terminal ill cancer, the pain was my thumb. And if you hold it up really close to your face and shut one eye, it takes up most of your vision. But when I started talking to Michelle and heard her story, all of a sudden it started to move out. So if you move it out and open both of your eyes, you can see so much more. And I can tell you, I didn't grow up in a very cushy situation. I grew up in a lot of chaos and hard. And I always felt like my thumb was here. And until that moment, I wasn't able to see. But because of her and that blessing and her reaching out, changed my life. We had a small clan of women, me and Michelle. It was a group of 6 of us. Most of us, all our children had the same disease. This was a rare type of leukemia. St. Jude has almost, like the most common type of leukemia is almost, I think, in the high 90s cured. And so praise the Lord for that. But that wasn't our group. Our group came in a cluster, and unfortunately, there wasn't any success at that time. I spent over 500 days inpatient with Dax. There were little brief moments that I got to get out. I heard there's a doctor in the room, so I'm so sorry for this. But he had leukemia, and so we had fevers every single day of his life. And so the only way I could do it is if I masked it with Tylenol, and I could get out of the hospital for like 24 hours, but then we were always right back in. And again, I apologize for that, but I needed a break. And so, yeah, I would get out and I would escape, and then I would have to go in for blood or platelets or something and get caught right away because his fever would spike in the room, and we would go straight back inpatient. So I basically lived there for a year and a half. I do not recommend that to anyone. That's very dangerous. But all of us, like I said, we all arrived at the same time in this cluster, and I was the last one that came in. And in my family, I'm the baby, and these women were all a lot older than me, and they all cared for me and just took me in. All of these women from all over this country, I had no idea who any of them were, but they just made me feel so welcome and so cared for. All of us lost our children together. I was the last one in, but I was the last one to lose my son. And so in that year and a half, I walked along these women, one after another, as our children passed away. I remember with Michelle, the woman who ate with me in the Ronald McDonald House, I was sitting on the floor with her when Elizabeth was passing, and Dax was just 2 doors down. We were up in the ICU, and we just sat on her floor. And I just remember watching Michelle and her family as they all just prayed. That's all they did the entire time I was in this room. It was like 3 hours, and they were just praying the rosary around and around this room. the peace that was in that room, if you've ever heard the peace that passes all understanding, is the only explanation that I can give you for that moment. After Dax had failed 3 bone marrow transplants, we were tired, he was tired, and it was time to go home. St. Jude had exhausted all the options that we had to try, and I was so grateful. When I arrived at St. Jude, I had been through 3 other hospitals and then landed at St. Jude, and the other hospitals were wonderful, but when I arrived at St. Jude, I felt like I was home. It was different. You arrived and like my doctor gave me his phone number and just asked me to call him at any time, and that was not something I had experienced before, and so the pressure was so much different there than it was my previous experience, and that had become my home. So the doctors sent us home, and just like I told you, they kept me so comfortable. I came home, and I was so excited to come home. All I kept saying, that was like my battle cry, I just want to go home, I just want to go home. But when they told me I could go home, I really didn't want to go home. On the way home, I was like, I could hardly breathe. So they actually sent an ambulance back to get me in Peoria and took me back to Memphis for a brief stint. St. Jude did that because I could not. I was so shaken after all that we had been through. December 30th, 2009, Dax passed away in my arms here in Peoria at OSF, which was wonderful. I want to thank Dieter's Funeral Home for that day. It was the hardest day leaving the hospital, but they were there. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, in 2010, after Dax passed away, I started the Locke Foundation. I wanted to help families and children in our area who were diagnosed with cancer and blood disorders in our local community. My original goal was to raise enough money to run St. Jude Hospital for one day. During that time, a famous songwriter had reached out to me. Somebody had read my blog, and they wrote a song about my son Dax. That song eventually got turned into a movie by GMC, and it was a roller coaster ride right after he died. All of a sudden I was in Hollywood making a movie, and my son is gone, and I'm pregnant with my daughter, and this is a year. It was a ride. But it was so good. It was so good to see the community. Like, you guys are just fills my heart to see you guys here, and what you're doing makes such a big difference to so many people, as you know. We reached our goal to raise $1.6 million. It took me 4 years to do that through my foundation. And we did that, and during the time, of course, other things started to come up. I really was impacted by the Ronald McDonald House. I was eager to understand why we didn't have a Ronald McDonald House at our children's hospital, a place that is just specific for families of sick children, always free and in walking distance to the hospital. That was critical when I was in Memphis. It was the home that you could walk to. It was a hot meal. It was where you had relief, just with other families who are going through the same thing. So I just had to keep pushing, and I tried, and I said I was at some wise counsel, and someone told me, just keep pushing and keep asking, and if the doors open, walk through them. And I did. I just kept asking, and so I went to OSF and talked to the CEO, and I was connected with Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Illinois, and here we are. It was 6 years that I worked on that project. One day, though, during that season of waiting, like Lori just referred to, I was sitting at a church in a pew at a baptism, and I got a text message from a board member of mine, and she said, "We just got a $100,000 grant." And I can tell you at that time, I was weary. trying to raise capital to build a $10 million Ronald McDonald house in Peoria was daunting. I remember just sobbing in church that day in the bathroom and just trusting that advice that this door is open to keep walking through, and because of that grant, I kept walking. This gift is what drew me to be a part of this group today. I'm just so grateful for all of you, and in December of 2019, we did open up Peoria's Ronald McDonald House that is in walking distance from the hospital, that is free for families when they arrive, and there is a place for everyone to eat together. So that's been a blessing to see that come through. I just want you all to know that your generous giving to Impact Central Illinois is bringing healing to the women and all of the families in our community. From my heart to each of you, thank you for being a part of the community who is going ahead of these families like mine, who will need these programs to bring hope and healing during really hard seasons. Thank you so much for your attention and listening to my story. Thank you.
Kind of hard to follow that. Please complete your surveys, and we'll be collecting those in just a moment. Another reminder, please pay your membership. Another reminder, please join the GRC. And the museum will be open, so if you have some time after this, if you want to stroll around, they have opened it up for all of us, so we appreciate that generosity. I want you to be watching the website for part of our ongoing educational programs with Beyond Giving, and we're going to have a lot of exciting things so that you can take part with our community partners, the grant award winners, and do things to help them in our local community. The way that we gather matters, and it should be with purpose. And today's gathering was about two women who had a vision, who got almost 300, we hope, women together that have given over $600,000 to date back into our community. That is amazing. Yes, that's a round of applause. That's amazing. This gathering is about friendship, the friendships that we've made by joining Impact, and about the community that we're forming right here amongst ourselves. And it's about honoring one of our own members and hearing her very personal story, and thanking her for sharing that with us to remind us of why we're a part of this community and why we want to continue to give back and help others so that during their times of sorrow, they can see the blessings as well. And so we have gathered with purpose, and we hope to all see you on June 6th at our next celebration. Thank you for coming.